Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock, let's go over the market, let's talk about what is happening and what we can expect moving forward. So ladies and gentlemen, as per usual, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice and I am not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. That link is down below in the description of the video. For just $2.99 a month, you get access to all my intraday thoughts, post updates, etc. on Tesla and other stocks as well, usually just a broader market. But for $5, you get access to all that, plus NVIDIA daily updates every single day. The market is open, so definitely check it out if you're interested. But let's jump into a Tesla with a pretty beautiful performance today, moving up about 4.5%, which is a nice outperformance compared to the market, closing at just above $226 per share, which is pretty damn good. Now, what does this mean moving forward? So yesterday we discussed, right, that there is a potential possibility of us actually moving up to about this 222/225-ish level, right? We're obviously slightly above 225, but not too much, right? But we talked about how this is still a very real possibility. Like, we can absolutely move higher, right? I actually ended up scalping today a little bit. I actually entered right in the morning as the market opened. We had that little drop into 219. I entered that and actually exited at 223. I would have re-entered at 219, but I was too busy because I was taking my cat to the vet. Would have been a nice re-entry with a very nice stop loss as well, pretty much below 219. And it probably would have rode this back up to about 224 and would have most likely taken profits. Because we have CPI tomorrow, PPI we have on Thursday, and we have that presidential debate tonight as well at 9 p.m. Eastern, I believe, which for better or for worse can definitely affect the market, tomorrow, right? All three of those things, including PPI on Thursday. So, but let's talk about this, right? Is the bounce over? Is Tesla just going to go down now, or is it just going to continue going up, right? That's the main question, of course, right? As usual, I'll give you my personal thoughts. Now, first and foremost, let's not completely disregard the fact that this could still be a massive bear flag, right? We're at a pretty major inflection point. For instance, if you take the Fibonacci from the recent swing high before this massive drop happened, right, bring it all the way down here, you can see we're pretty much right at that 0.618 Fibonacci, which is just in like the upper 225s, right? Obviously, we're slightly above it, but my Fibonacci is not drawn to perfection. Keep that in mind. But we're pretty much at a pretty important inflection point, right? So this is something you want to definitely look out for. This is a pretty important level to break. But the issue is Tesla is now at a point where, so I like the fact that it's above 224, above 224, right? Why? Because, all the way back here, you can see we had a lot of issues, 224, 225, a lot of resistance over here that just really, not only did not let us go above, but it smacked us down pretty aggressively, not, shortly after. The thing I'm a little bit concerned about here is a few things though, right? So that's a good sign, but the things that are potentially not a good sign are, well, we're entering some pretty massive resistance. Even though we're above that resistance, we still have this resistance here, right? The one that, held as support pretty well back here, right? Around what, 227 we'll say ish, right? 227, 227 and a half. So that's another level to watch out for. We are still potentially looking for a double top pattern here because we stopped pretty much exactly where we stopped on the initial morning pump, almost to the penny. With CPI tomorrow morning and the presidential debate, if we get a gap down, this potential double top in the 1 hour becomes a possibility, kind of like what we had all the way up here where, we had a massive rally up, came down a little bit, went back up to pretty much the same level, double top, and then we crashed like really, really aggressively. I don't know if this crash will be that aggressive. I mean, this was a pretty aggressive Friday crash, but it does, technically bring in that possibility, right? Now, if we do move up higher though, if we go up in this rising channel, which again, rising channels are bullish within, usually they end up acting bearish as you break out of it, because not always, but more often than not, they do break to the south side, but again, bullish well within, we're still within, in my opinion, the best case scenario for Tesla is to come back up to somewhere around the low to mid 230s. And then that's really where the true test will be, right? These ones I mentioned before, like 227, or even breaking above today's high, really, which is not that much higher, right? Depends on, if we gap up or gap down, right? Around 22, we'll just say 226 and a half, really, roughly, right? Those are like minor resistance levels. The major resistance level is going to be pretty much the top of this channel if we actually do get up there. It really depends on when it happens. But if it happens, let's say sometime midday tomorrow, it'll pretty much coincide with the top that we had just recently back here before that major crash on Friday, right? And that is an important level. And I mentioned this many, many times before, right? It's pretty irrelevant what happens within this massive red candle. I said yesterday, we absolutely can still go to 222, 225, right? That's exactly what we did today. And this is still technically a threat, right? This is still a threat, a bearish threat, I should add. Just be really careful, right? Now, obviously, if we break above 233 to 235, which is essentially breaking the high of this red candle, which is a bearish engulfing candle, which is still technically in play. Keep in mind, it's still technically in play. Again, to nullify it, you want to break out of that candle's range, which again is around 233, almost 234, well, just 233 to 235, just that $2 range. Very important range. Break above that, In my opinion, this bearish engulfing candle, this bearish situation gets nullified, and Tesla can definitely head higher, right? It can absolutely head higher. First target will be pretty much this gap fill somewhere around the mid 240s. That'll be the first target. And honestly, even just breaking above this range, in my opinion, definitely brings in the possibility of heading even higher, all the way up to retesting 265. Those become realistic targets, obviously one step at a time, but nonetheless, they become actual realistic targets that we can definitely talk about without it being a meme, essentially, right? If that makes sense. So very important level to break, in my opinion. Again, this is just my point of view, right? There's many ways to look at it. I could be missing something entirely. I'm not perfect. I don't have a crystal ball. I could be completely wrong, but the way I trade, the way I look at charts, this is how I perceive it, right? It needs to break the high of Friday's candle, which is that extremely large bearish engulfing candle, because it is still technically in play. But today is a pretty damn good start. But we talked about this yesterday. We said how this is a very real possibility to happen. Again, more work needs to be done by the bulls, but they're on the right track. Just they need to keep pushing that trolley ahead. You know what I mean? So that's going to be really important to watch moving forward, right? This stochastic did have a false crossover. Excuse me. Ooh, that went down the wrong hole, that spit. Anyway, the crossover yesterday, the bearish crossover, ended up being obviously a false bearish crossover. But, we do have bearish and bullish crossovers that constantly are false all the time. So, it's not a perfect indicator, but we are back to being bullish, which is a good sign. So this tells me that, there is still a chance as the 1 hour, remember we talked about the 1 hour being bullish, right? Remember how we said yesterday, the stochastic is still looking pretty damn solid, and it's still looking pretty solid today. There is still potential for a little bit of a higher push on Tesla. Again, probably closer to the low 230s, I would say, to the top of this channel. Maybe get another resistance around this 233-ish range, 235, and then potentially look for a rejection. So it could look something like this. That's a possibility. But again, if we break above, I expect something like this and we head up even higher. That's just really the main thing I'm looking at. Now, obviously, going back to the daily chart, right? If we ever break, there's two things to look for on the break to the downside, right? If Tesla ever breaks this green, I'm gonna remove this one. If Tesla ever breaks this green trend line right here, which I don't know, let's just say happens tomorrow as an example, right? That'll be pretty much below 214. That's bearish. That'll be very bearish. That'll most likely severely increase the chances that we break below that Friday low, which is a very important low for bears to want to break. And that most likely will have Tesla trend downwards towards the second half of September, right? I think there'll be a very high chance of that happening if it, of course, breaks below this trend line, and especially breaks below Friday's low candle. So those are the main things I'm personally eyeballing right now moving on Tesla, right? Or moving forward on Tesla. That's just kind of how I'm eyeballing. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm scalping in intraday right now. I'm in and out, usually in the morning, right? Morning is usually the most volatile. So I like to, honestly, what I've noticed so far is if Tesla has a morning dip for the first minute or two, it usually just rips right after. It happens every time. It happened the same thing this morning. I did the exact same thing. I'll even show you that. I'll show you my trade this morning. This is pretty much what I was looking at this morning, right? So let's take a look at it. Where was it? I think it was, I think I put on the 15-minute, yeah, it was 15-minute chart. This is what I was looking at, right? So essentially what I was looking at was this, right? Was it this? So we're on Tuesday. Yeah, I think it was, yeah, no, I think I did it on the 1 hour actually then. Yeah, it was 1 hour. This was what it was, right? This is what I was looking at. So I was looking at, how Tesla today, came down right on this candle right here, this first, really large white candle. It came down right into the area that pre-market actually showed some supports, right? For instance, you can see back here, we had a lot of issues around this kind of 219 range right here, right? You can see these candles right here, a lot of resistance around 219, constant rejection. We ended up breaking past the pre-market, and then this market opened up in the first few minutes, came right down to that exact same level, right? You can see here, right? This level right here. Beautiful, right? This little wick right here came down right into that, what was resistance, now in theory should be support, the tight stop. And I pretty much bought this dip and then pretty much sold it right up here, right? And that's just kind of how I did my morning scalp, right? That's just kind of how I played at the moment. I'm kind of, I'm in and out, right? That's just kind of how I like to look at it personally as of right now. That was my morning trade. That was my morning trade. Felt pretty good. Then I had to step out of the house, unfortunately. But that's just kind of what I'm eyeballing right now. So, we'll see if this plays out tomorrow. We'll see how CPI comes in. We'll see how the presidential debate happens overnight. And we'll see what that brings for Tesla. But options flow has been kind of a little bit all over the place, but I would say definitely the bulls are coming in pretty aggressively, right? Some decent call flow came in throughout the day, especially towards the end of the day, right before the market closed, right? Some nice little call flow coming in for this week as well. So literally for this Friday. So clearly bulls are expecting potentially a little bit of a higher move. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see, 230, 231, 32, 33, something like that. Honestly, as early as tomorrow off CPI, that sounds like a possibility. But, at the moment, I don't expect higher. That's where I do expect some substantial resistance to come in. But if we break above 233 to 235, I think that's where Tesla definitely opens up the possibility of it heading higher to about 245 gap fill, which will be the first target. And then we'll, of course, revisit it after that. But that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm expecting. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. And as per usual, I'll see you for the next one. Peace.